welcome to the show. This is The Force Always. My name is Diz, aka David Zammit. So let's get on with the show with the news, the views, the reviews, and interviews. And I'm in a bit of a different attire today. This is actually a signature Obi-Wan Kenobi dressing gown. Just thought I'd sort of rock that as I've had a bit of a big restful day today, sort of with the activities, the sickness, and my uncle now in departure on his vacation. But let's get on with the show. Let me have a bit of a sip of the beautiful. So in the news at the moment, we've got no news, which is good news, with Starfighter. That's good. We've had no announcements for the Mandalorian and Grogu tickets. It seems like they are going to go on sale just prior to the release. There could be advanced screenings. I'm sure there will be some sort of buzz with advanced screenings. As of like at the moment this week, the big release is going to be Ryan Gosling's Project Hail Mary, and there's advanced screenings here. Of that, I'm sure across the world, so it's pretty much going to come this weekend, even though it officially releases the week after. But going back to Star Wars news, so there's no ticket actual news, besides I think it's going to fall in the week of release, which is I think it's May 22nd. For us, it's May 21st here in Australia. We are a day ahead, so it's pretty much the same date, but just different number dates. And to more news, Star Wars Celebration, no news as yet with tickets or any other information at the moment. I'm sure it's going to come. I reckon it's actually going to come after The Mandalorian, because I think they really want people to really just focus on that and financially on that, rather than sort of worrying about tickets at this stage, because it might, drive their wallets, and Disney wants people to come to Star Wars Celebration, I'm sure. Anyway, so that is... I'd say that is the complete... Yes, that is the complete news. Just the main points at the moment. So that is the news. That is no news, but a little bit of information. Anyway, let's get into views. Views is my story idea about something with Star Wars that I'd like to see. I accept the story for what it is, because that is the story that has been given, and we need to accept the story for what it is, because that's it. It's still Star Wars. It still has that adventure. It may not feel like it all the time, but it's a great Star Wars journey. So let's get into my story idea. My story idea is still gonna be talking about Yoda. Now, Yoda's planet, where he came from, could appear in the Mandalorian and Grogu film. It could appear. My story idea a while back was to explore that planet of where the Yoda species, or the species of Yoda, came from, Grogu and Yaddle, whatever you like to say. I'd love to see that, but I'd like it to be also that sort of the reason in the film to protect at any cost. It would be great. It'd be a fantastic idea, but that's not my story idea. I would like to sort of explore the idea Yoda being evil or sort of sinister in some sort of form. It's been expressed at the moment online, but I would say, look, I am also at the same thought that Yoda needs to be a character. His story arc needs to be about, that subtle teaching, simplicity, upholding the greatest of all good, which was meant to be the Jedi at that time, but just losing sort of track with their own ways. I don't think Yoda would be a good character evil. It would just really, cause an imbalance. I just don't think it's a good... It wouldn't suit it. You could have everyone look like their evil versions, but Yoda, it would just... you really need Yoda to be almost godly, Even when he was alive, he was godly. He was a Jedi Master. He was, he survived many hundreds of years because of his species being an older sort of living species. I just think the story idea is keep Yoda like we know Yoda as. And that's not being, stale to the past and not exploring new ideas. I just think personally, the species from where Yoda came from, or Grogu, which we may see in the Mandalorian and Grogu, should be just all about being godly in reality and godly when they go to the Force and become Force ghosts and stuff like that. So that is my story idea. It's more of an opinion story idea, but it's a story idea for Star Wars. Please keep him and her and all the species that Yoda comes from almost godly type creatures in reality and in the afterlife of the Force. Anyway, that is my story idea. Let's get into reviews. Reviews is something I've got hidden in this room. I've got many, 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 many things. Not just here, I've got another area as well. But today, as Empire Magazine, actually today's the day. I should have added that as another piece of news. The release date of The Mandalorian and Grogu in Empire Magazine online should be roughly now, coming soon. Depends on what side of the world you are. It is March 12th here right now. It will be March 12th coming soon towards the rest of the world. But an Empire Magazine, great magazine of movies, really just showcases Star Wars in a big way. In fact, I've even got an original copy of Empire Magazine when Revenge of the Sith Episode 3 came out. Helming the Darth Vader, helmet. It was a real nostalgic time, real sort of connecting of the prequels, Episode 3 to Episode 4, and then we got Rogue One and all that, really connected it even more. But this here is a super collectible magazine, Empire Magazine. Let me see if I can find a picture. Or look at this, we've got the producer at that time doing a take with Darth Vader, the scene of Darth Vader. You've got Mace Windu. So this is just a beautiful magazine. Empire Magazine, this is a 10 out of 10. When you see something as iconic as a Darth Vader thing like this, it's iconic. It's a 10 out of 10. I hold this super, super close. Anyway, that is the review for this time around. Let's get into the interviews. Interviews is usually my my chest is a bit coming out there of the bedroom robe, which is a Jedi Knight thing. Anyway, let's get into the questions. It's send in your questions, comments, questions, opinions, or if you've got any trivia questions, I'll give it a shot. I'm not number one at trivia, but I'll give it a shot. I'm pretty old, so I may get it. But let's get into the questions. Michael from Werribee South, one of our favourites, is asking the questions again. His question, starting off with, is father versus son. If Boba and Jango Fett in their prime were to fight, who would win? That is a really good question. It's a what-if question. I will say that Jango may have the upper edge on that. He was the really orchestrator of the whole cloning thing. He was the father. He had more experience, even though he was taken out quite easily in a funny way in Attack of the Clones, Episode 2 by Mace Windu. But I still think he would be a bit better than Boba Fett, whatever you like. That's my opinion. We actually don't know. We'd have to see if that ever were to take place in a rewind type movie or TV series. We don't know. Anyway, the next question from Michael, once again, and he's from Werribee South, just to let you know. Fear of Vader. While Boba worked for Vader, was he ever truly afraid of him, or did he view the Sith Lord as dangerous business associate to be respected. Well, Boba Fett was a bounty hunter that worked for himself. He didn't work for anyone else but himself. That is it. He was about making money. He looked out for himself, just as his father, Jango Fett. And yeah, so basically, I don't think he had much fear of Vader. He was quite cunning, but I'm sure he knows not to cross the line. That's my opinion. So I do think he, the Sith Lord, he knew he was dangerous. I think he knew he was to be respected. But I think, Boba Fett was his own entity, and he just, was in it for himself, and that's it. The next question, the Mandalorian takeover, was it a mistake for the series to dedicate 2 of its 7 episodes entirely to Din Djarin and Grogu, effectively sidelining the tutelar character in his own show? Well, the story as is, it was the story as is. I'm a real advocate for, that's how the story was told, and that's how the story is told. But yes, when you take the Mandalorian out of the Mandalorian, it becomes less about the Mandalorian. But you really do need to sort of have Star Wars itself to be more than just about a character. That's why I think the episodic saga films are just much more exciting, because it's about Star Wars. But I don't think it had this show go further down. I think with the story ideas in the storytelling, there was part of the Star Wars fan base that just didn't appreciate it. I will say in season 3, the part where there was a pop R&B star, and I remember Jack Black, that was probably one of the most cringeworthy entries into Star Wars. I would say that little moment was probably as bad as the holiday special by Star Wars, but the holiday special has its own special place in the absolutely horrific thing in Star Wars. But having Jack Black, which is an actor I love, but the character he played was just ridiculous. It was just a really forced scene in my sort of thing. But I accept the story for what it is. Jack Black and the R&B pop singer that I cannot remember the name of, but it was just really just not that great. But I will say the part with Christopher Lloyd, who was in Back to the Future, the scientist, the mad scientist, as you would refer to him, I didn't mind his role. He was a celebrity that was in the Mandalorian. I didn't mind it, but the thing with Star Wars, you really need to keep it to unknown actors. When you have real big celebrity, it takes away from the story, and I think the whole Star Wars storytelling really works better when it's unknown actors. It just needs to have epic storylines that has a journey about it. That's, in my humble opinion. Anyway, that was from Michael. And again from Michael, the next question. The cool factor. Does Boba Fett's popularity solely rely on his iconic Mandalorian armor and the success of his early action figures, or is there genuine character there? Well, technically, Boba Fett's armor is not Mandalorian. He is not a Mandalorian. The Mandalorians is a group of people that wear the similar masks, look, similar jetpacks and similar clothing, but he is announced to be not a Mandalorian. He's his own entity. But I think the success of early action figures is because it was promoted right, and then towards the end of the season, I think, or the end of the season, the episode 1, we got this little character we knew as the child back then, or Baby Yoda, and then eventuated to being known as Grogu. And the hype for this show really excelled. It's been the first 2 seasons has been received widely well. I thought it was good, not great, but I was not really moved by the whole show. I think it was good, not great. 3rd season, funny enough, I liked a bit more than a lot of people out there, but there was definitely cringeworthy moments, as I said to you before, with Jack Black and an R&B singer that appeared. It was just a bit ridiculous. But by far the best episode, and I hate to say this being so typical, but the best episode of Mandalorian was the last episode of Season 2, when our hero, Luke Skywalker, came to save the day. It was a resurgence of what we knew, but not just that, it was just a great heroic episode and ended the season really well. And that was great. And unfortunately, that was the last episode we saw the now fired, still fired, Cara Dune, I think that's her character name. She was good. She will, I think, come back one time or another. But anyway, yeah, so Boba's popularity was popular way back in the 80s. When he first appeared in 1980, the character really just took on his own evil identity next to the level of Darth Vader, but just not as iconic, not as predominant, but he's always been a well-liked character amongst Star Wars fans since the 80s, early 80s, and 1980. That's when Empire Strikes Back came out. If anyone can remember that, I can. It was a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. Just to drop that line. But anyway, let's get into another question by Michael from Ruby South. The hype factor, is Boba Fett overrated? Many fans argue his massively popularity was originally based on almost entirely a cool costume and successful action figure rather than his on-screen actions. Well, his on-screen actions was very mysterious. His on-screen actions were very cool, calm and collected, assertive, and with a sort of evil sort of way. I think he's... I think personally, to a degree, in my opinion, I'm surprised how popular he is, but at the same time, I think he's a great character. But I'm surprised how intensely popular, especially with the hardcore Star Wars fans, he is. But anyway, I don't think he's overrated in that, he does have merit, but it's probably, in a contradictory way, in my behalf, a little bit overrated. But at the same time, he's a great character, Boba Fett. Anyway, the next question and the final question from Michael from Ruby South. Character evolution. Do you prefer the mysterious silent killer version of Boba from the original trilogy, or more dialogue heavy, benevolent crime lord seen in the book of Boba Fett? Well, in the book of Boba Fett, even though he was a crime lord, the way he was a good Samaritan as a crime lord is really where the season just got a bit jarred. I just think he should have be kept as a crime lord in a real sort of sinister way. Almost how, if you ever saw the TV series The Penguin, which is based on the latest Batman movie adaptation. It was almost like The Sopranos again, but in a Batman sort of way. That type of gritty type filming and storytelling was what they should have stuck with Boba Fett. But I think the idea of it being a family-friendly show and sort of coming off like the Mandalorian, Din Djarin, he needed to be just more of a sinister crime lord with evil, twisted, sort of mysterious ways. That's what I think. But Boba Fett will live on. The actual actor Tamara Morrison at the moment is having some issues with getting his character back on screen. Tamara Morrison is aging. Knock on wood. Wherever wood can be seen, that's not wood, but I'll pretend it's wood. And I think they should do it sooner than later and really save the character before he is unable to play the character. I just think a simple twist of stooge. I am really a badass or badass, crime lord Boba Fett, and I think they just need that second season to re-establish that. I think that would work, but we'll see how it goes. But anyway, that is the show for this time around. Subscribe to the channel, The Force Always. I'm here usually 3-ish times a week. 3-ish times a week. I will be bringing on the next episode. Yeah, actually, the next episode, I'll be giving you a review of the Ryan Gosling movie, Project Hail Mary. I'm seeing it Melbourne time Saturday evening. I'm going to give you a straight out of a type of theatre, type of reaction. In what form, I don't know. Maybe here, maybe in the car, maybe whatever it is. But I'll be giving you a review of that. That will be the next episode. And we'll just see how he's going to be set up for the big film of next year Star Wars has in mind for him, or has been created, which is Starfighter. Ryan Gosling in Starfighter next year, but Ryan Gosling this year is in Project Hail Mary. It's getting a lot of hype. It's got a good critic reaction so far from the people who have seen it. It's an advanced screening that I'm seeing this Saturday night. It technically comes out the week after on the Wednesday or Thursday in your neck of the woods, but I'm going to see an early screening of it this particular Saturday. It's one of the films I just thought looked a bit not super duper, but the last trailer really did push me over the line going, this looks like it could be a really good one. But anyway, that will be the next episode. Please subscribe again to this channel, The Force Always. Like and share it, whatever you like. And until next time, my friends, keep rocking.